Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Talking about topics and stuff. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why? Good evening and welcome to Absolute Bedlam podcast. I've just been on the Nevermind Polly podcast, so I feel like I've got like 4 jobs on the go at once, and I love it. Chaos is where we thrive, people. Right, so tonight I've got a co-host, which is a weird moment in history, and I've also got a special guest called Chris Cartwright, who is a musician and a clothing company creator, founder, and we'll obviously get into everything else that he's been doing lately. But my co-host for tonight is Sam Welch, who's been on several podcasts in the past. How is it going, people? I'll let Sam go first, if that's all right.
I am very good, thank you, Ben. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all good.
Good.
Can't complain. Life is busy.
Excellent. Yeah, and I believe what you meant to say was the start of episode 2, season 2 of Absolute Bedlam.
Is that not still your Instagram bio?
I've got a feeling it possibly is, yeah.
I'm going to have a look. Surely not. What's your Instagram again? Dorchester Iron.
That's the one.
Yep, star of season 2, episode 2 of Absolute Bedlam podcast. Fuck's sake. The meme lives on.
Yeah, well, all I could say is I'm loyal to a fault, quite obviously.
Absolutely. How's it going, Chris? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
All good. Have you done one of these before?
I have not, no.
Yeah. Nice. A first for ABP history. I love it. Right, so Chris, just a question for you. With everything that's been going on in the world, with all of this uncertainty and off-on culture that we seem to thrive in at the moment, how have you found COVID?
Yeah, it has been tough, man, for sure. Well, like everyone else, it's just trying to find ways of just looking at things in a positive way and just keep going, really. But it wasn't easy, for sure.
Yeah. Has there been any particular moments where you thought this is mental?
I think not being, is it the 1 in 5 rule, not being with people more than 5 in total, that was a bit like, what?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the first time in my life to actually be told to restrict who I hang out with, which is insane.
Yeah. Fair enough. And we're here now, and everything seems to be getting a bit better. Well, according to the UK government, because they've just gone, fuck it, think for yourselves. Because apparently for 2.5 years we weren't capable of thinking for ourselves, so the government had to impose loads of rules. But anyway, if you want to listen to that podcast, it doesn't exist. So fuck off. Right, Sam, have you got anything to add? How are you today?
I'm all good. Actually, just sort of like sitting there and sort of, while you guys were sort of talking about COVID and everything, I was looking back on some of my Facebook kind of, this is what you did 2 years ago, or this is what you did a year ago. Yeah. And I saw a picture that I posted probably about a month or so ago, and I'd sort of put the caption on it of out having my government mandated exercise.
Yeah.
And it's just that thought that I can remember, because I was working from home when I wasn't furloughed in 2020. It was just a case of, I'd be sat in front of a computer all day in my house, but the one time of the day I would actually go outside would be to take the dog out first thing in the morning, and there was just no one there. And it was just a really surreal kind of experience, of almost like and I know we sort of half joked about it when it first started, but a bit like those zombie movies, where nothing. And just it's a surreal thought to think that was only a year, 2 years ago that was happening. So
yeah, definitely. It's been a weird time, but we seem to be getting through it slowly, one vaccine at a time and all that. So yeah, it's all good. Right, next question is for Chris, and it's about music. So Chris, when did you start getting into music, and when did you realize that you didn't just want to listen to it, you actually wanted to perform it?
Great question. Well, I was born in Chelmsford, Essex. So growing up as a kid, I was into rap, and I still like it now in some respects, but it's not really my go-to anymore. But I've always been a fan of music. And when my family moved here, when I was at 2005, I remember taking the school bus to Hardy's, and Danny California was on the radio on the bus. It was the first time I was like, wow. I was actually listening to the separate instruments from different perspectives, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe, that's funky. It's in its own right, it has so much life.
Yeah,
and I kind of got bitten by the bug then, man, really. And then I asked my parents to start drumming lessons, which, funny enough, my very first lesson was with Sam's little brother.
Yeah.
That all kicked off around year 9. So I don't know what age that is, but so yeah, man, so I was learning drums around that, sort of 12, 13 kind of age. I believe that's just a rough guess, but yeah, I think when I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with semantic pragmatic disorder, which is on the autistic spectrum. So it's like a speech impairment, and also I would struggle with. I always struggled with talking as a kid.
Okay.
So music for me was a way of like hearing different words being spoken, being pronounced, being used in different contexts. So it kind of music, not only, it kind of just helped me develop my speech, which is pretty mental. But
gave you a voice.
Yeah.
Well, they often say, there's a lot of people that say that certainly people learn to speak English because they listen to either American or British bands, and because they listen to their catalogue so much, it just, they pick it up so much better. So yeah, but it's interesting hearing it from that point of view, Chris, because I've never actually no one ever really, I never thought about it that way either. But I mean, if I could jump in, Ben,
of
just
course.
to kind of ask, I was quite fortunate that my love of music came from my parents, and I was very lucky that they had quite an interesting taste in music as well. My dad was massively into blues music, and we've still got all his vinyls, and one of the big ones, and anyone that knows my family probably knows this, but one of the big bands that we grew up with, not a blues band, well, kind of was, is Status Quo. So that was kind of the introduction to, the rock and roll world, and like you said, you've obviously known my little brother for years and years, and he always had myself and the other one of us. We were always playing music, whether it be CDs or tapes in the car or what have you. So he kind of picked up, certainly at a younger age, our kind of taste in music. So was there anyone that you kind of picked up on? Did your parents have a taste in music that you liked, or are you about to tell me that they like Shirley Bassey or something? And
you're not far, mate. So my parents have a very different. Like, my dad likes electronic organ music.
Oh wow!
So it's very niche.
Mm.
So it's like these artists who play 30, 40 grand like organs. But they play Queen, they can play ABBA, they can play Elvis, they can play Sinatra. So I kind of grew up with that kind of sort of just tempo all the time. Whereas my mum's more like Kylie Minogue. And it was quite funny you say that, because it was actually recently, about a month or two ago, my dad literally looked at me and said, yeah, how did you even, like, where did you get this from? And I just simply, obviously we're heavy heads. Chili Peppers opened the door for me to find Slipknot, Limp Bizkit. Like, this is just through school, but just like Linkin Park, Rage Against the Machine, and just all these bands. You know, which I prefer metal to rock any day of the week. But then all three of us know the amount of subgenres within metal is crazy.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers really are a gateway band. They open so many doors to so much, because they're almost so many genres in one, aren't they?
Well, I think that phrase you use, is gateway, is right, and I think Chris has just obviously listed a load of them there, because, you know, of the three of us talking now, I'm the eldest, and I mean, I think Ben, you're probably roughly not quite in the middle of us, but you know, I'm 7 years older than Chris. I know that because same age as my brother.
Because he talks about it all the time, right?
Yeah, because I'm just so old. But you know, for even that 7 year gap, that generation, those are the bands that everyone picked up, and they were the gateway. Yeah, all right, you'd run into someone who, you know, straight away was into something ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
Sort of like early doors, but I think for most of us, it was, you know, Chocolate Starfish, Hybrid Theory, whatever, that kind of got you into that world. And then it's like, example, one of a favourite band of mine that is also a favourite band of my mother's, believe it or not, is Nightwish. I never would have discovered Nightwish without listening to Evanescence first, and then reading an article in Kerrang, and they say, oh, here are these other bands. There's Nightwish, there's Lacuna Coil. And that's how it all gets going, and you sort of start experimenting, listening to different things. So
one leads into the other. The Danny California, though, like when you were describing it earlier, Chris, like it does feel that song has a conversation in it, because John Frusciante plays 3 guitar solos in it.
And mate, he's just crazy, isn't he?
He's incredible. Crazy. But it's just, there's so much in that band for 4 people. There's so much, like, I know some people that only listen to Uplift Mofo Party Plan. Some people only listen to Freaky Styley. I've listened to the whole thing. Not so much the new song. Is it Universal Love? It's literally just come out. I need to actually...
Unlimited Love.
Love. I need to actually properly give that a go. But By the Way was my golden goose by far. Absolutely love that album. It had so many different emotions in it. But man. Nice. Hell yeah. So, Chris, what band are you currently in? Let's promote the hell out of it.
So, I am currently in El Moono. Well, we're based in Brighton. We literally released a EP roughly a month, 5-6 weeks ago, called Temple Corrupted.
There it is. Get on YouTube, people. Have a look at Sam's frame.
I'm not being paid to do this either. I bought this with my own money.
Nice.
100%.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, Chris, you crack on, mate.
No, it's all right, man. I'm dying to know what you think of it, to be honest.
Do you know what? I was listening to a couple of tracks earlier. I think it was Requiem was one of them. And I heard a review or someone describe a guy called Stephen Hill, who's a music journalist who is quite well known in sort of like the music journalist kind of world as such. He's he's got his own podcast, which I think is called Riot Act, is it? I think, and he's also appeared on the Metal Hammer magazine podcast, where he plugged the album, and he described, your band, and sort of said, that the vocals is very sort of very Mike Patton-esque, and then there is the sort of like other, but it's definitely not Faith No More. What you guys play, it's very different. Again, there are sort of like, I don't know, there was almost sort of like elements of bits of sludge almost that I kind of got from bits of it, and sort of doomy parts, and then you've obviously, it's just like, it's just one of those, it's one of those bands, and certainly that was one of those songs where it's just like, just going to throw everything in, because 1 minute you've got that really harmonic kind of almost, it's not off key, but it's not almost in time kind of vocal, but then next moment you got this huge scream coming out, and you've got massive guitars, you've got the beats you're kind of throwing in, and it's just it's a melting pot of all kind of things going on, and it's I'm glad it's a purchase. I'm very pleased. I've got a collection of CDs behind me. I'm not proud of all of them, I'm not going to lie. That I don't mind though. I'm very pleased I bought that. I can probably find some very dodgy CDs quite easily, but I'm not going to.
Nice. Yeah. So we've got Spotify. We've got 1.5 monthly listeners, 1.5k, and you've been consistently releasing at least singles for the last 4 years, from what I can see here on my phone right now. And I listened to it briefly when we first chatted last week, and I wanted to tell you what the hell you were getting yourself in for. And I'm going to make a promise to myself right now that when I do the washing up later, which will inevitably be sat downstairs when I finish recording, that I'm going to listen to it properly tonight, and I'm going to let you know what I think. So
please do, man.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So just off the back of that, have you got any announcements that you can give us an exclusive on? Have you got any gigs that are coming up that have made you go, how the fuck has this happened?
Well, we recently announced a couple of festivals, one being Art Tangent, which is crazy.
Yeah, man.
We're all of us are mentally stoked for that one. Bit nerve-wracking, but it's I think the whole Temple Corrupted journey. Obviously, we mentioned COVID at the beginning of all this, and we were writing kind of when it was all starting to kick off, and we managed to but the 1 in 5 rule, we managed to get into the studio to track during the 5 rule. So we were very lucky before it all hit the fan.
Yeah.
But then we we mixed the EP over Zoom like this.
Yeah.
With the producer, which was crazy. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
But we're currently trying to think of exclusive things to say. I think the album, we're already talking about the album.
Cool.
Which is really cool. We're currently looking at studios.
Nice.
So and we've got a load of demos that we're just gonna dive into and dissect and what have you. So hopefully we'll be looking at autumn tracking. So fingers crossed it all goes well.
Have you got anyone looking to come and, whether it be producers, mixers, anyone who's kind of seen the way that, the EP is kind of gone, that want to work with you and sort of like approached you? Because obviously things like you mentioned, Arc Tangent, that's got to be off the wave of this, because Chris probably won't say it, so I'll say it. All the reviews I've seen have been bloody good for it. At the end of the day, I'm a 36-year-old balding fella in Dorset. What do I know? Whereas you've got really decent reviews in Metal Hammer magazine, which is a national magazine. I believe it was reviewed in Kerrang as well. like I said, there's at least 2 podcasts where they've spoken about it. So this is the band were mentioned as one of Metal Hammer's bands to watch in 2022. So you must have people kind of knocking on the door saying, "Oh, do you know what? I really like what you guys have done. I really want to work with you." Who's knocking on the door that you're thinking, "Oh, wow, this is getting a bit serious now"?
We have been approached by different people and what have you. I'm not sure if I can say who it is at this moment in time, just because we're in talks and stuff at the moment. So I don't really want to jump the gun and what have you. But it was definitely like a Jesus Christ. Like I was 13 on the bus listening to Danny California. I just decided to go to Bournemouth College to do a diploma in music for 2 years, then moved to Brighton for 3 years to do a professional musicianship in drums, and now my drums are being with 3 other amazing musicians. It's just crazy, man, how I've just kind of just dropped everything, was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And in, like you said, just reading all the reviews, it's just really surreal.
Yeah. No, fair enough. If you can work hard and show that you're worth your salt and all that sort of stuff, then grab every
It hasn't been 5
opportunity that comes
minutes.
to you.
It's been Sorry, it's been
No,
7-8 years, man. Do you know what I mean? It's I was in a band before Moono. I knew Jamie, Harry, and Zach before because I was in an old band called My High, which are really, really cool. But things, you drift apart or what have you, and it just didn't seem to work out. But we still talk and what have you, which is all good. But My High and Moono toured during our 3rd year, and then after I graduated, I was pretty done with music in a whole. Really, I was kind of just it was just a very long story, which we could tap into now. But it was just I was working at the hospital in Brighton, the Royal Sussex Hospital. So I was doing that Saturday, Sunday, then my degree during the week, and then rehearsing, a lot during the week. So I was literally burnout. So I literally said, look, I'm gonna leave and come back home. And to this day, I'm still recovering from it, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's it. Wow. Well, they always say that an overnight success is 10 years in the making, and it's interesting to see that come true so often, because you always see people like Psy and the Cheeky Girls. They just explode. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I'm not comparing them to you, but you see them sort of just batter themselves to the Spice Girls. Like, it got to a point where you were watching TV and they're on TV, and then you turn the radio on, they're on the radio, and it was like, fucking hell, I can't escape this. But it's because they've got a fucking marketing campaign behind them, and they've been speaking to the right people. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of it's talent, some of it's luck, and most of it's a shitload of money. Let's be honest. But it's just amazing what you can do when you put your full ass into everything, right?
Yeah, man. Like, by all means, I'm not sitting here and saying it's been an easy ride. It's been a very much a roller coaster, but it's one that I'm glad that I've gone on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cool. If you could just check your phones quickly, we'll keep recording, but we've not got an awful lot left, so we're going to have to start a new Zoom in a minute. So that's fine. So I can probably get one more question out, and then I'll send the emails over. So, Chris, currently in El Moono, what is the best gig you've played? In terms of this is going to be shit, to like, oh my God, there's actually a lot of people here and they all care. not necessarily like the highest ranking headlining act. I mean, have you ever thought, do you know what? I drove for 4 hours for this, and there's 4 people here, and then all of a sudden this like uni breakout party happens, and you're like, holy fuck, this was worth it. That sort of thing.
Fortunately, I'm in a band that we don't just turn up and go, oh, blood, Jesus Christ. Like,
Yeah.
We look forward to each gig. Obviously each one is different, and some are more fun than others. But I would say my favourite one, and I think the boys would probably agree with me, but Burn It Down festival last year, it it went off.
Yeah.
It was during the day. It was probably about 2-3 in the afternoon, and we're playing, I believe it's a pub opposite the Foundry in Torquay. I think it's the Parrot and something. I'm sorry, I can't remember it at the top of my head, but because obviously you got as soon as the act finishes before you wait for them to pack up and finish, and then you jump on, and then what have you. And it was virtually dead.
Yeah.
And then before we head on stage, we actually played the Wild Hunt before we walk on.
Yeah.
And we hear the intro start, and then from the time it took from us walking from sort of like the upstage area down onto the stage, it was just absolutely like you couldn't see the back.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was just, man, it was like, for me, it was, I don't think it would take a very long time to top that. It was just all of us were just in the zone. It was tight. The only thing that happened was Zach's strap came away from his guitar, but he somehow managed to carry on.
Yeah.
Thankfully, a friend of ours who was, sort of helping out, kind of like a tech with us on tour. But it was just phenomenal, man. I just got, it's such a feeling when you walk off. It's such a release. I enjoy asking people to split it. Like, I asked for like a wall of death. And obviously sometimes it's like, oh, okay. But like, I literally pointed at them with 2 fingers and I spread it like that, and they literally instantly moved. Like, I actually felt like I was Moses or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
It's man, just that, without a doubt, that gig.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Sam, have you got anything to add to that? Because we're about to start a new Zoom meeting. We've got about 3 minutes.
No, just do you still get the same feeling with every gig as you're kind of approaching the drums? And what is that feeling? Is it nervousness, excitement? What's going on?
Good question. I'm always anxious before gigs. Always. Even days of recording, like the night before recording, I can't sleep because I'm like, it's I think for Temple Corrupted, when we're in the old chapel in Chichester, I slept well because I think it's just the boys put me at ease. But anxiety is a lot of it. But as soon as I go on stage and sit behind the kit, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for over 10 years. It's all right. I'm not just going to forget how to play it. Do you know what I mean?
Strangely, it's your safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Imagine,
I mean, the anxiety is a good thing because I care.
Imagine getting nervous about going into the office. Like, fucking hell. Yeah. No, I love that. Right, we're just going to take a tiny break. I'm just going to set up another Zoom because they're now asking for money, and they can fuck off if they think they're getting my money. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. Bear with me and keep it bedlam. 2 seconds. Absolute bedlam. Right, we're back from our little forced break from Zoom. Best gig you've ever played has been expertly answered. So I now want to go dark, and I want to know the worst gig you've ever played, and I don't want you to hold back.
Oh, mate. Oh. I think for me personally, we I hate making mistakes. Like, it's always been a trait of mine. I hate, even though we're human beings and we're destined to make mistakes, I hate making them. And for a Halloween show, last October, obviously we dressed up, and I dressed as an aubergine.
Okay.
Which turned out to be very restrictive.
Yeah.
And not easy to maneuver. So when I sit down, all I just see is like a sea of purple all over my snare for starters.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like get up and get my costume off my snare drum whilst trying to do my parts. And yeah, man, I think for me personally, I would have to say the Halloween show we played, because I was a bit all over the place. I've got this thing like this, so I had to like move my actual neck to see. You know, it was horrible.
Nice.
It wasn't a good choice of costume, but it was a laugh. But that was my fault.
Have you ever played?
That's all right. I like to think of this podcast as an educational session. So if anyone is wondering what to drum as, don't drum as a fucking aubergine. And yeah, sorry, Sam. Over to you, mate.
No, that was important. That was actually a government-sponsored message right there. No, all I was going to say was, has there ever been any gigs where you've kind of come off stage and you've kind of all looked at each other going, what the hell was up with everyone? You know, we've absolutely... It's like you guys have played with the same heart and passion and, you know, skill that you do every night. It's the same show that you've done the night before, which everyone loved. And you've gone out, you've done it again, and you've just got nothing back. Have you ever come off stage and gone, yeah, it wasn't us, it was them?
Of course, like, I'll be lying to say, you know, some nights we've walked off, got, you know, frustrated, for sure. Like, you know, we travel here, there, and everywhere, and you know, we rehearse, we write, we record. Like, we've all thought, you know, we put an awful lot into Temple. So, you know, it is gut wrenching at times when it doesn't go our way, but life isn't meant to go all our way all the time. Do you know what I mean? And it's just about going right on to the next.
Yeah. I think sometimes when you're given that moment to reflect, it can backfire. Whereas if you're just cycling through, like when you're on tour, like, I don't know what it was, when I was young on like Kerrang magazine and stuff, I'd always see tour schedules as like show, day off, show, day off. And now it's like show, day off, show. And it's changed because I think that's where the money is now. If I'm looking at music from a crude perspective of monetized. But yeah, you don't really have time sometimes to register the reaction, even if it's good. You know, you're just in that flow state. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very high-paced environment. You know, there's no faffing about.
Yeah,
you know, you turn up when you load in. When you're on to a sound check. That's if we get a sound check. Then there's a line check underneath that.
Yeah.
Which is not ideal. And then sometimes, you know, there's nights when I'm like, can I have this in my monitor and this and that? And then we start playing and it's just not there.
Yeah.
So it's you have to be on the ball, and you have to be, you know, with the last gig we played was in a brewery with 6 colossal canisters. And the noise was just Like I've not experienced. You know, it was on my birthday. It was a great gig, but when you're, you know, we're not a quiet band, and it's just ricocheting off left, right, and centre. You know, it was difficult at times. It was challenging, but you just have to adapt and do your best.
I really want to Google Six Colossal Canisters and see if that's a gent band, because that just sounds so perfect, doesn't it? It's at the absolute least, it's an album name, isn't it? Brilliant.
I'll put that forward.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you don't, I think Ben and I have a mutual friend who would 100%, you know, write a song around that. So
the only problem with me and Sam doing a band is we both play bass, so we'd just be constantly talking to each other through 4 strings or 5 strings.
The germ of the low end.
That's it. Yeah, love it. Right, so this is probably one of the most important questions. It's a kind of new question that I want to ask music people. When you are loading in, it is quite time. You feel like you're kind of just waiting around. When you're waiting around, is there anything that you do that you'd class as a ritual? And what's your go-to place to eat before a show or after a show?
Or a ritual would be we just chat absolute nonsense.
Yep.
Like whenever we're together, it's just I mean, it makes my day most of the time, but we do chat absolute shit.
Yeah.
So that's probably our ritual, I think. Eating wise, Zach's vegan, and I try and make a conscious effort because I'm dairy intolerant. So I try and, like, Zach's definitely opened my eyes and made me more aware of, you know, what's the words I'm trying to, you know, the complications of eating meat and how many of us eat it, and due to the demand, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's finding a place where we can all eat and enjoy it, which is not necessarily easy. So
yeah.
However, there was this phenomenal vegan fast food place in Amsterdam, and I was literally, I couldn't tell you the name, I couldn't tell you where it was, but it was mighty fine.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it was vegan.
Yeah. Nice. Be up for giving that a go.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Amsterdam then. Have you got to go transatlantic with the band a couple of times now?
So when I joined Moono, they were due to go on a European tour, which I wasn't physically or mentally ready for. So I said, look, I'll drive you guys around. Alfie, the old drummer, who's a fantastic drummer, he said, look, I'll stay and perform these shows, and then that'll be my way of saying goodbye. So I drove around Europe, Belgium, Germany, France. I'm just trying to think of other, obviously Holland. I think that's pretty much. Sorry if I've missed anything out. That's just the top of my head, but yeah, that was Amsterdam was ridiculous.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. More of them coming soon, hopefully, now that COVID's finally allowed us to go outside again.
Yeah, man, we're fortunate because our label, Lockjaw Records, I mean, they did have 2 reps that are based in Belgium. One's left, but we're still, you know, a third of the label is based in Belgium, so that could, you know, be positive in a way of us being able to go out there and what have you.
Yeah,
perform in Europe.
Awesome.
Without being too political, because we won't. Let's not go down that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that'd be a rabbit hole and a half.
Yeah. Will Brexit affect how bands like yourself can play shows abroad? You know, what kind of? I mean, obviously, when, like I say, it's not like you were hiring a minibus and then you had a trailer with all your gear on. It's you, Chris, driving the band around Europe. What kind of? It's hard enough for bands like you guys. What's it going to be like now? Or have you not even tried thinking about that?
Well, that seeing as our government completely disregarded in the deal about bands and musicians trying to grow their sounds, their fan base, where the places they've performed. I think that they're just completely what they were thinking in terms, like the revenue the music industry brings within the UK, and then just saying, I'm not making a deal with the EU about us traveling there. And to be honest, like I think it's answering your question. It's what you said last. Is I just try not to think about it, mate, because it's just depressing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because they've made it virtually impossible for us.
Yeah, that's a shame. Oh dear, it's already hard enough, like you say. I can't think of anything worse than going on tour and then someone breaks into your van. Like you're literally stealing from the not the poorest, that's not the right word, but people that are already out on a limb. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, I'll be like Liam Neeson and taking if that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put this in perspective. You know, it's all right. There were other reasons behind it, but last year, I know what Chris was doing for a living. He was painting my mum's bedroom. You know, and this is a guy who is also then working with a band on songs. You know, or I don't know if they were recording at that point or what have you, but you know, I think that's the reality for a lot of musicians out there, isn't it? And you know, I'm not speaking as a musician who ever got anywhere, or it's probably an insult to even describe me as a musician, but which I wouldn't. But when you're having to do jobs like everyday jobs, and then like you were saying before, you've got jobs, you've got school, you've got the band. It's a lot, isn't it? And it's not surprising that bands just sometimes don't make it, and it makes you wonder what bands of the world missed out on because there's so many hurdles in the way.
Yeah, totally agree, man. I look at the Rolling Stones and I would go, how have you done that?
Yeah,
it's
the longevity behind it as well. Of it's not just a one album deal. This is actually our entire lives. Like,
yeah, you read stories of Charlie Watts punching Keith Richards in the face and stuff like that, or I wouldn't dream about doing that to my bandmates. It's it's
I get that.
It's mental.
I kind of feel like this is now a podcast about Sam's mum's, was it bedroom?
Yeah.
Is this why you've come on, Sam? Is you want to have a go at Chris? And say you did a shit job.
No. He and his dad did an outstanding job, and I would recommend him every day of the week.
Shout out.
It's more testament to the fact of the my mum was moving into the bigger bedroom in her own house that she'd been kept out of for years by my youngest brother, who was at university and not using it. So, what's he playing at? And he'd obviously left it in such a disgusting state with horrible green walls and everything that, we had to get the professionals in to sort it out. So, yeah.
Nice. Just looking to see if checkertrade.com have an Instagram, because I'm going to ping them a message after this to see if they'll sponsor me. Yeah, they do have an Instagram, and it's got a blue tick, so it's real.
There we go.
I thought we were about to watch an intervention live or some shit. Cool. Right, this is a very, very open-ended, vague question, but I think Chris is up to the job. When you are in a band and when you are so passionate about your hobby and potentially turning your hobby into a full-time thing, what keeps you going?
Family, pretty much. I wouldn't be here. We can link this to over your heads in a minute, but I've been in and out with my mental health since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So obviously, as an autistic child who was constantly picked on, not only by fellow peers but other actual teachers as well, I was a very angry kid. And music gave me an outlet which was safe. Linking back to when my dad was like, how have you managed to listen to Slipknot and all these mentally like heavy bands? And I literally simply said to him, because it basically was a life form of how I'm feeling, how I'm, it makes me feel I'm comforted, because I'm not the only person on this planet who feels that same way. And that's just an absolute dream of mine. If Temple Corrupted is based around mental health as well, which I feel is completely neglected topic everywhere, really. If our music can help other people, like music has helped that's what keeps me going, mate. Basically, that's
Love that.
We'll have shit days, and it's trying to weather the storm, really, and know that it has to get better, because what other way is it? Can you look at it?
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's a really cool answer. It's quite a hard question. Of course.
Can I just clarify something for anyone that's watching this on YouTube as well? When Chris was describing the troubles he had as a child and being picked on by teachers and how he was an angry child, and going into, bearing his soul, really, if you looked at my little cube, I was having a bit of a smile and a giggle to myself, mainly because when I first met Chris, he was playing football with my youngest brother, and that angry kid came out on the football pitch. You don't see many people sent off in under 13s or under 14s, but I'm pretty sure I saw him sent off once or twice.
Fantastic.
And it's that just kind of came home. And I dare say, I know Max will listen to this back, because if he doesn't, what's wrong with him again? He would be, and anyone that played with Chris would be able to vouch that. I'm pretty sure I've got an image now. I don't know why. I think you just booted someone once. I can't remember why. I think you just literally went up
Shaftesbury.
Yeah, there we go. I knew it was something. He just went and just. Yeah.
I didn't go for him. I completely misread it, and the ambulance came out and gave him oxygen. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Nice.
There
we go.
Yeah.
So you alluded to it earlier, Chris. Let's promote your clothing company. So what was that all about, and what made you want to proceed with that rather than just have a dream about it and say, "Oh, that would be nice one day"?
So before I went to Bournemouth College to do the diploma, I was with White Stuff in Dorch. I don't know if you guys have shopped there before. It's a cool clothing brand. It's different, and when I joined, I really liked the company values. And as we all three of us know, it doesn't last forever until corporate people take over, and profits, and then before you know it, it's all the good stuff about that company's gone. I've always liked clothes, and I've always wanted to eventually own my own brand. I've always been into fashion, but as I mentioned earlier about when I finished uni, I was suicidal, and got to a place where I just was desperate to die. It was a very horrible situation to be in. And so I came home after, and my family looked after me, and because I was very unwell. And I reached out to the NHS and said, look, really need some support here, because growing up here, I was supported by CAMS.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the way it looks like, as soon as you reach 18, they're kind of just like, right, you're on your own. Good luck. So I had to wait 18 months to see a clinical psychologist, which is mind-boggling for me anyway. I was at that line where I was so ready to just and that the fact that there was no urgency, there was no, kind of made me feel worse in a way, especially when I've worked for the NHS myself.
It
was a very, and I just thought, what, how about if we can make a clothing brand? You have your Lacoste, your Fred Perry's, your Dolce & Gabbanas, your Armani's, but what do they actually do apart from profit margins? So I wanted to do something that was meaningful, where people could be proud of wearing, but actually making a difference at the same time.
Nice. Yeah, starts with the values, and don't lose sight of those values. And as you scale up your operation, still have those values or add more. Don't remove them and just say, fuck it, we're capitalist scum now. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be this difficult, man. Like, we want to make money, no shit, but it shouldn't take us segment out. It should all rise up at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. I'm a bit shocked by that.
No, mate, it's not got nothing to be sorry for. I'm very open. I'm not afraid to talk about it, because I think it's a conversation that needs to happen between everyone.
Yeah.
Because we've got all this going on with Ukraine at the moment, which is depressing.
Mm-hmm.
We have the hikes of literally everything.
Yep.
Electricity, gas. These are little segments in life which can tip someone over the edge.
Yep.
And it's very important that, Jack and I, because Jack's my little brother, and we started this business together, and he's suffered with his mental health too. But we're trying to create a culture where people can, the darker the better, man. If we can talk to each other, the NHS is completely overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Samaritans are getting 70,000 calls a week, which is roughly 250,000 a month, mate, of people calling them up. And suicides was a bigger killer than Omicron, but that wasn't in the news. And I'm so frustrated, because there's this thing with mental health, like if you talk about it, or it's almost like people seem that are weak, mate. Some of the strongest people I know have been suffering with mental health for donkey's years.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of it being this same old, hearing people going, yeah, I've gone for help, but I've been given an 8-month waiting list. Where's the good in that? But you can go to a gym that's open 24 hours and you can work out whenever you want.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Mental health is one of those things at the moment, which I've got to kind of argue with myself here. Everyone talks about it, but no one talks about it. So in the way that, you will listen to everything and everyone will say, mental health's important. Mental health, but that's as far as it goes. People will just say mental health is important, unless you see firsthand, what people like Chris have had to go through. And like you said, everyone's had, hard times. Everyone reacts to things differently. So it's so important. And you're right, the NHS is just being, they can't win, to be honest, can they?
No,
because on one hand, you've got waiting lists, like you say, which is right. It's true. It's factual. The waiting lists are ridiculous. And you do worry about what gets missed. But at the same time, you look at it from the NHS's point of view, they don't want that, do they? I mean, I know for a fact that Dorset County Hospital had 11 ambulances queuing outside the other night. You have paramedics who I've been told from a very, very good source will spend a whole shift, 12-hour shift, sat in an ambulance waiting to go into hospital with someone. And you just think, that's not what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
And all right, yeah, it's not what they're paid to do, whatever. But that sounds a bit crass in the way I've said that. But it's, their job is to go out and help people. That's what they do. They find it difficult to do that. Everything that revolves around people, needing to go and help other people seems to be the area of society that gets the least support, almost. And it's bizarre in a way. It really is, because everyone suffers with their mental health. Absolutely everyone. If you're feeling a bit down in the dumps, that's your mental health. What do? You have a coping mechanism to make yourself feel better. Sometimes you have to search a bit harder, obviously, to find that mechanism or find what it is that makes you feel better. And thank God, Chris, you obviously were able to grab onto something. I mean, if I can ask, what was it for you that stopped you from taking that final step?
I couldn't do it to my fiance, who I love very, very dearly. I couldn't do it to my parents. I think it's what keeps me here is what gives me purpose is that I grew up thinking I was an alien because mental health is not even talked about in schools, but we have PE lessons. So I grew up feeling like I was different from everybody else. That I was a freak. I was all these different things, and I've come too far now. I'm not gonna chuck in the towel now. I've come. I'll being totally honest. Growing up, I didn't expect to live past 18, so I literally just planned my life up until 18.
Yeah.
So when I went past it, I'm like, oh Christ, like, what now? I mean, that's deep and whatever but it's reality.
Yeah.
And now I'm sat here talking to you two about my band's EP that's getting, which we're all being completely knocked back by the response. And if I can do it, anyone can. Just because people who there might be people listening to this who just completely just do not know what life is. They don't have they feel they don't have a purpose, or they don't have a direction in life. But I can promise you, it is not forever.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
I mean, I think sorry, Ben, I'm just going to jump in again.
It's fine.
I think showing, Chris's strength of character. I'm going to share this story. I mean, my father passed away 5.5 years ago now, and I can remember at his funeral, Chris was there. Chris had known my family for a number of years. He was a very good friend of my brother. Knew my dad because my dad worked with his football team. And I was having a chat to him, how's life going? And it basically transpired that Chris told me that he'd literally found out that my dad had passed away like days, if not a day before the funeral. And then got himself to our little tiny corner of Dorset from Brighton, to be there for my brother, for my family. And and then he made the ultimate sacrifice when he said, "Yeah, I'll do something for charity with my youngest brother." Yeah, they had the old waxing downstairs on the older gentleman parts, all for charity. So that's
Nice.
all jokes aside, here's someone who at that time in his life was probably in a fairly low situation, yet he's still turning himself around and saying, right now, this isn't about me. This is about my mate, and this is about his family, and I'm going to drive that, 3.5 hours, whatever it is, from Brighton to Dorset to be there for them. And then what? Yeah, I'll get waxed where it's really painful. Yeah, go for it. Why not? It's all for a good cause. So, that's testament to the man that we're talking to, really.
There we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you want a story about turning something negative into a positive, it seems to be a recurring theme on Absolute Bedlam now. But yeah, we're glad you're here, mate, because it's not easy talking about stuff like that. I'm just going to wrap up because we've got 7 minutes left because Zoom's kicking off again. So, Chris, just for the record, what is your band called?
Moono.
And what is your latest release?
Our latest release is Temple Corrupted. You can virtually stream it everywhere. It's on YouTube. Go check it out.
Yeah. And what's your clothing company called?
Over Your Head. We started 2020. We're donating 10% of profits to the Samaritans and Mental Health Foundation, and just trying to make a difference and change mental health as we know it.
Love it. Do you have a website for Over Your Head?
Yeah, it's www.oyhofficial.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's currently just a website. Are you planning to get it in shops?
Just a website for now. I'm just gonna, Jack and I've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we're just building it nice and steady and see where it heads.
Yep, not too much at once. Any bands that you want to give a shout out to that you've toured with, admire, want to play with in the future?
I recently saw the Hyena Kill, who were really, really cool. Check those guys out. Foxjaw. If you haven't heard of Foxjaw, then you need to listen to them. And Death Goals. I would recommend checking them three out.
Nice. Have you got anything left, Sam, to talk about? Because we're going to go with a meal deal question.
Who the hell am I to get in the way of the meal deal question?
Yes,
Benjamin?
I did just say that sentence.
Yeah.
Very heavy episode, but hopefully the meal deal choice can round it off. So Sam, you've had your chance, all right, mate. You're not invited to this party anymore, okay? Right, Chris, you're on tour. You're somewhere that you need to quickly scoff some food down your throat. You're at Tesco's, Sainsbury's, the Co-op, Morrison's, you name it. Snack, drink, and sandwich. What is your go-to meal deal?
Drink has to be Oasis, hands down. Because with my IBS, I hate having fizzy drinks. So sorry if that's too much information, but there you go.
It's all right.
I'll probably go for the Thai sweet chili Walkers. They're pretty banging.
Hell yeah.
I think I'd have to. I think I'm gonna have to go to Tesco's because I think there's not a go-to vegan-wise at the moment for me meal deal. But I think if I had to go normally, I'd say a honey and mustard chicken pasta.
Yeah. Staying true to your original answer when we had a meeting about this. I like it. Consistent. Awesome. Just quickly off the back of this before I forget, there's a band that I watch on Twitch quite a lot called City of Sounds, and they are looking for a Bristol booking agent. So if anyone that listens to this can shoot me a DM on Instagram or email me at absolutebedlampodcast@gmail.com, that would be massively appreciated, because they've booked up the northern half of the UK, but they need to find some booking agents in Bristol. So hit me up if you know anything like that, because I am well out of the loop with stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I needed to plug on this episode. So keep it Bedlam. And any parting words, gentlemen?
After you, Sam.
Now, Ben, thank you for having me.
No worries, you've been great.
Chris, good to talk to you, buddy. I hope to see you again soon, and hopefully share a beer with you in London like we did last time.
There we go.
With less rain.
So keep it El Moono, keep it over your head, and most importantly, keep it Bedlam. See you later.
Absolute Bedlam. Archie Soul, as always, hooking me up with the beard wash from Duke Cannon. It's got a hint of oak barrel and Buffalo Trace Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I know that's backwards, I'm sorry. Got some more Duke Cannon here. Same again, Buffalo Trace. This is a bar of soap, as I've mentioned numerous times now in guest episodes. That's a big boy. Bedlam 2022, once again, will get you 20% off everything on archiesoul.com. And for Christmas, I was very kindly given a £25 bottle of Anthony Sea Kelp Scrub, which is absolutely awesome, and I love it. So that's Archie Soul, www.archiesoul.com. And finally, we have Made Sure, as always. I love fragrances. If anyone knows me in real life, I love candles, I love scents, I love walking into a house and smelling like gingerbread or lemon and lime or strawberries. And I don't think that that's necessarily something that's appreciated by men. And I think it should be, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's always seen as very girly. However, I think that we should normalise it for men. So madesure.pigcartel.com. Bedlam 20, not Bedlam 2022, for 20% off your order. We've got wax melts to suit every emotion, every feeling. We've got Jamaican Me Crazy. This one, you can smell it through the wrapper. It is amazing. It's a really left field scent. It's quite a tropical, fruity smell. We've got lemon and lime. If the camera wants to focus, that would be fantastic. Lemon and lime. There we go. Smell that one as well. They're really powerful, but they're really like sort of punchy, and they are meant to be sort of chunked and sort of separated. You're not meant to put the whole thing in your burner. So yeah, there we go. Pink Flamingo as well is the last one I've got to hand. And we've got Avabath here. Avabath. So yeah, just mind-blowing. Everyone that I've ever sent any Made Sure stuff to has absolutely loved it. And I think that 2022 could be their year. Hopefully going to look at doing some events and some fairs when COVID finally jogs on. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of Hannah for making just these amazing snap bars, wax melts. We're looking potentially at getting burner kits, but that's a little bit way down the road. A lot of people say, you know, how do you use them? And it would be good to do like an all assembled thing. I think Hannah's looking at doing some spring scents soon. And then we'll look into doing it as a seasonal thing, you know, spring, summer, autumn, winter, Halloween, Christmas, that sort of stuff in the middle. But yeah, I absolutely love all my sponsors. I use all of the stuff myself, and I just try and be as genuine as possible with it, really. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I'm nearly at 30 subscribers, I think, and I'd like to get to 50 by the end of February if possible. I don't think that's an unachievable task. But yeah, thanks as always for listening, watching, and I hope that the guests that I've just had on has been interesting. So I will speak to you all very, very soon. Keep it Bedlam, and please support the show by supporting my sponsors. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Absolute Bedlam Podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?